All right, people. What's happening? What's happening? The world is gone live. What's up, folks? What's going on, people? It's your boy, Uncle Dallas. I am here. Yeah, we started a little late. Apologize. My bad. Appreciate it. Sorry about that. I was up today. For those of you that are part of the class, you're going to get a special video today. I sent the video out to you. It's going to be on two passages. Corinthians, and both of them in the 2 Corinthians, and that passage will talk to you today about how to transform your mind. See, I can teach you a lot of stuff, and a lot of stuff I can share with you, but these things that I'm talking to you about, oh shoot, let's get the mic over here. Let's get the mic. I can talk to you about a lot of stuff, but what I'm gonna need you to understand is that there is a lot more to be done. The class last night was off the chain. Thank you so much. It was off the chain. It was off the chain. It was amazing. I appreciate everybody that was there. I appreciate everybody that was a part of the class, and I thank God for you, because I know that you could have been in a lot of other places. So today we're going to talk about something. Like I said, those of you that are a part of the class, you're going to get a copy of what we're talking about already, because there is something I need you guys to understand. So today, if you lose the connection, today, if you are a part of the class, then you understand what I'm talking about. If you're not a part of the class, you can't be a part of the class. Just need to let us know. We're going to go talk about two different passages in 2 Corinthians. Two passages in 2 Corinthians. And for those of you that are watching me on YouTube, I'm going to put that up. I'm going to put it up on the screen. For those of you that are not watching me on YouTube, we'll have to put it up on the screen some other time. You can see the YouTube video a little bit later. Okay, but we're gonna put these up on the screen. So now, what's happening right now, for those of you that are in relationships, those of you that go to church, you have to realize a couple things. Number one, you got to realize, and I'm gonna probably put this mic here eventually. I got to find some way to not have it on the ground. You have to realize there are two different mechanisms that you have to understand: getting your mind together and getting your heart together. Getting your mind together and getting your body together. Water. Getting your mind together and getting your heart together. So, when you look at Corinthians, the 5th chapter and the 14th verse, 17th verse. When you look at Corinthians, the 17th verse, let me see where we are. The 17th verse. Let's make this a little bigger for you. I want you to see something here that will help you to understand a little bit better of what's happening. Okay, right there. Okay, good. Okay, good. And so that means if I move this here, you guys can see it. Okay, good. Now, it's up here, right here. Okay, so I'm sorry, we'll go to 2 Corinthians, the 5th chapter and the 7th verse. So if you're not there, get there. If you need to be there, there. Now, the Bible says, let's start here. It says, verse 7 says, we walk by faith and not by sight. The reason you walk by faith is because there's a foundation of something you understand to be true. That's why you walk by faith. And what faith is an assurance that that is the truth. It is an assurance that you are walking in this particular truth. So you're not walking by haphazard. Many of you kind of move into things and kind of wonder what you should do about those things, wonder how it should work out, wonder how those things are going to happen, when in actuality, you have the capabilities to make that thing work. So he said we walk by faith and not by sight. A lot of us have gotten into relationships, gotten into churches because of this thing called desperation. And the reason I say desperation is because when you move into a thing based on the need, it's easy for you to be fooled or for you to be tricked. When you move into the thing based on a need. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but I need you to understand this. When you go towards something based on a need, anything that comes that looks like it supplies that need, you're attached to. But if you go into it based on a need and desperation, for example, your light bill needs to be paid. And the closer you get to the light bill, the more desperate you become. What you will find yourself doing is making a mistake, because you'll try to grab onto the first thing that looks like it's the answer to your prayer. But you don't move by sight, you move by faith. Now, what is faith? We can go to Hebrews, and it's the evidence and the substance and all those kind of things. But what I want you to understand is you have to change your thinking. And to change it in a couple of different ways. You have to change your thinking. Now, when you understand, make sure we got everything right. When you understand that what is happening in your life is not based on haphazard, everything that happens in your life has a position and has a thing. So when you understand that, you have to get out of this desperation thing. You got to get out of it. Stop being desperate. You want a relationship? Don't be desperate. You want money? Don't be desperate. Put yourself in a position where you understand that God is going to help you. God is going to open up doors for you. And not even going through the whole God thing. Your spirit is curious to know ways for you to do well. Your spirit is curious at a point where it's going, you know how great you are. If you know your greatness in God and you know how God loves you and you know that, stop moving in desperation. But that I'll get to that on a different thing. So when you look at this, and I'm gonna shift this over here for you guys that are in here. For you guys that let me get this up here. Yeah. For you guys that are on YouTube, look at this right here. Look at this passage right here. Now this passage says, therefore, if any man be in Christ, he's a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things become new. Now, if you are in Christ, we're going to say if you have learned the principles of Christ, if you've learned who Christ was, if you've learned spiritual principles, because that's what I want you to understand, spiritual principles. If you've learned spiritual principles, you are a new creature. Now, every revelation elevates you. For every revelation, there's an elevation. So every time you learn something new, you elevate to a different level. So let's deal with some of the things. Right now, my husband and my wife, me and my husband are not getting along. Me and my wife are not getting along. You have to elevate. Now, how do you elevate? You elevate by education. Not school education, because that's called inundation. Not church education, because that's called inundation. You elevate by spiritual understanding and spiritual education. You have to do that. Now, look at this diagram right here. See this? This diagram right here shows you how your elevation happens. It shows you the structure of spiritual. Now, for those of you that are on TikTok and those of you on Instagram, you can't see it, but it shows you that it says body, mind, and spirit. 3 areas that you have to understand. So when he says you're a new creature, there are 3 areas you have to shift. You have to shift them. If not, you'll keep dealing with the same type of man. You'll keep dealing with the same situation. You'll keep going down the same roads. Why? Because you have not changed the essential foundations to get you to change or move. He says, so once you get the revelation, once you are a new creature spiritually, old things will pass away. I need you to hear that. Now, passing away means they move away. Doesn't mean they instantly disappear. They move away, because when they move away, this structure right here is the structure that you have to pay attention to. Now, for those of you that can't see it, it's spirit over mind over body. Now, people say, well, mind over matter. Now, that's a good foundation, but if you do not have a spiritual source or a source, you're going to make the same mistakes you made before. You're going to attract the same type of man. Now, the key becomes when you have the mind level, because there's the spiritual level, there's the mental level, then there's the physical level. When you have the mind level, you have to let the mind level transition. Most of us won't do that. And the reason we don't do that is because in our mind level, I'm shifting this thing around so I can put my mic close to it. In my mind level, I think things are logical. They're rational. They make sense in my mind level. So in my mind level, I've got to get to a point where my mind is open enough that it can operate at a place. Yeah, I got some things going on here, guys. Yeah, I can operate at a place. Let's just do this. Yeah, let's just do that. Now, we operate at a place where I can understand what's coming. So he says, therefore, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. By the moment that things have taken place as a new creature, it says old things are passed away. Old things are passed away. Now, what do you want passed away in your life? What do you need to be moved in your life? What do you need to be changed in your life? What do you need? Whatever you need to be changed in your life, whatever you need to be moved in your life, those things are the things that you need to deal with. Okay? Now, how do you deal with them? You deal with them with more spiritual understanding, not more religious understanding, not more church understanding, not more Christian understanding. Spiritual understanding. Now, what is the difference? Religious understanding is church understanding. Church understanding is understanding the structure, the rituals, and the foundation of your church. Do you follow me? Christian understanding is how you move and become Christ-like. So you look like a Christian and act like a Christian. Hear me. Do you know how many women have been fooled because people look like a Christian? So there are a set of rules that say these are Christian rules. They've changed because back in the day, Christian rules where you don't wear pants and you don't wear hats. And nowadays, Christian rules are not foundational rules to show you that a person. So religious rules are church rules. Okay, when you pay your tithes, how you pay your tithes, if you pay your tithes. When you take the sacraments, or when you say, okay, I'm gonna do this in remembrance of him. My pastor tells me the truth. All these things are religious rules. They're all religious rules. Now, when you go from religion to Christianity, Christianity becomes a reflection of what you learned in religion. You follow me? A reflection of what you learned in religion. So you're not moving. You just basically stay connected to what's there. Spiritual is learning principles and processes that move you to promise. Learning principles and processes that move you to promise. Spiritual is pulling yourself from emotionalism, pulling yourself from commercialism, pulling yourself from those areas that make you feel like you are obligated to a man. Your job is not to learn from a man. Your job is to gather information and then learn from the Spirit. Everything I'm telling you right now, your job is to gather this information and learn from the Spirit. Why? Because when you learn from the Spirit, you put yourself in a position where you control your emotions, you control your movement, and you control the systems that keep putting you in positions over and over again. So he said, if you be in Christ, or if you have this revelation, old things are passed away. What do you want to pass away? Well, I'm ready. I'm ready, Uncle Dallas, to go to get my husband. I'm ready to have a husband. Okay, I'm ready. I'm glad you are. I'm ready to get my husband. First thing you have to do if you're ready to get your husband is get you right. That's what spirituality says. Spirituality says get you right. So if you're ready to get your husband, get you right. Now, how do you get you right? Get rid of the situation that took place in the past. How do you get you right if you're ready for a wife? Get rid of the situation that took in the past. I know you love Tamika and I know you love Ted, but the bottom line is those were not relationships that were necessary for this time in your life. Well, Uncle Dallas, I'm ready to have my business. Get yourself prepared for that. Right now, if you have to release something, I told the story in my class. I said, God opened the door for me to give $1,000. A friend of mine called me and I gave him the $1,000. Right there. Then I had another friend said, "Yeah, I'll help you with $10,000." You follow me? Why? Because I had to get in position. Even now, I got to get into some positions. Why? Because if you want something, you have to let the old things pass away. You have to allow it. Old things pass away. Behold, all things become new. Because here's the system. The moment the old thing passes away is the moment that the new thing takes place. The moment that the old thing passes away, not at the beginning of the pass away, not in the middle of the pass away, but the moment that it passes away. The moment you get the old man out your heart, you leave room for the new man. And the key becomes, once you get the old man out of your heart, now you look at the new man as a new man instead of a reflection of the old man. Say it again. Now you look at the new man as a new man and not a reflection of the old man, meaning you're comparing him to what the old man did. Same situation. Now you see the new woman as a new woman instead of the same woman you dated, just in a different body. You follow me? Old things have to pass away. Now, the key to that is understanding that you are powerful enough to allow them to pass away. Now, let's go to the next passage. I told you 2 Corinthians, the 5th chapter, and we're going to the 10th verse this time. So I have the 10th verse here. It's a couple of pages over in my Bible. You follow me? Now, there we go. Now, let's see if this will do this like I wanted to. Yeah. Now, if they underlined it, yes, it did. Okay, good. That's good. Now, check it out, guys. All right, everybody that's on my YouTube, check this out. What about that? Here, check this out. It says, "For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh." Now, let's take that right there. Let's hit that right there. Though you are in this flesh, though you are in this place that you're in right now, though you walk in the flesh, you do not fulfill. You do not war after the flesh. Meaning, okay. Though you walk in the flesh, so every day you have a situation. Here's what happens with a situation. Let's use a car. You're driving your car. Once you drive your car, somebody cut you off. Okay? Somebody cut you off. When they cut you off, you're cussing this person out. You're like, ah. You are warring in the flesh now. You're warring in the flesh. Why? Because you're still attached to emotions. You're still attached to the feelings. Every person I counsel, they will tell me what they feel about what this situation is doing. Then I ask them, what's the rule about it? What's the thought process behind it? Because what you feel is not important. I promise you it's not important. People, you've been hearing this all over. I feel like a woman. You don't know what a woman feels like. You don't know what a man feels like. Most women that have decided they like women, I can't say most of them, a number of them, they don't like men because of what happened to them in men. Whether they were molested, whether they were hurt, whether something drastic happened to them, they don't. Now, what their decision is as a grown person, that's on them. But what I want you to understand, every person that says, I feel like a man inside of a woman's body, every man says, I feel like a woman inside of a man's body, never really knows what a woman feels like. Men do not feel like women feel. Women do not feel like men feel. So what you do is you define the physical and take that as a definition for what you want to be. So now you're looking at a woman because she does something pretty. You go, I want to do something pretty. That does not make you a woman. It does not make you desirous of a woman. It does not make you like a woman. It simply makes that your physical and your mental have more power over your spiritual. So if I do a snap and do it like that, that doesn't make me a woman. That doesn't make me female. That doesn't make me anything. Why? Because though I walk in the flesh, I do not war in the flesh. I don't do battle in the flesh. I don't submit to the flesh. So what happens is we now have people going around because they feel something. They feel like that's the definition of truth. If you feel something, that does not mean you're defined by it. I heard Dave Chappelle say, he said, because I feel like a Chinese man doesn't make him a Chinese man. He said, but you can identify with a duck. That doesn't make you a duck, because the mind level, the mental level, I don't know why I'm going here. The mental level is not the level of creation. The mental level is the level of manipulation. So your mind is the manipulation level. So don't let the mind level define your level. Don't let the mind level define your level. The mental level is a manipulation level. It is not a level where you are actually defining something. It is how you think about it, feel about it, and your opinion on it. It doesn't make it true. Does that make sense? So when you're looking at this thing and you're looking at this passage, you're looking at the passage and you're going, well, I feel like a woman. I identify with a woman. You're not identifying with a woman. You're identifying with a feeling that makes you think that you know and feel the same thing a woman do. That's disrespectful to a woman. And I don't know why women don't do that and just say, look, that's disrespectful. You don't know how I feel. You don't know what it's like to have a baby. You don't know what it's like to have any of these things. You don't know how I feel. So looking at this passage, you're going, you war not after the flesh. You follow me? And so when I realized that my battles were not about me trying to fight and do what everybody else was doing. My battles, let me do that right quick, guys. My battles were about the spirit. So let's take this a little deeper. Y'all ready to go deep? Okay. My statement is, let's take this a little deeper. So let's take this a little deeper. Okay. So the passage, look at this passage again. We're going to read some more about this passage. We just took first. He said, for though I walk in the flesh, I do not war after the flesh. So, okay, let's take this a little deeper. So now you have feelings, okay? You have feelings, and these feelings, they feel like they're manifesting. You have these feelings. They feel like they're changing your heart. You feel like they're changing your being. You have these feelings. The passage, the spiritual principle, because you're dealing with the spirit, not the mind. The spiritual principle says, now I don't war with the feeling. I don't war with the feeling in mind. Does that make sense? I don't war with the feeling in mind. Now, what do I mean? So now you feel, let's say you feel like a woman. You can't really feel like a woman, because in order to feel like a woman, you have to have the mindset of a woman. You have to have the capabilities, the spirit, the body of a woman, because you can't feel like a woman. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. But you can feel that you identify with women. So if you feel like you identify with the woman, the first thing you do is not to compare yourself to other people that feel like a woman. The first thing you do is start dealing with yourself spiritually. That's where the battle becomes. Why do I feel like this? Why do I feel like this? You feel like this because as a human being, you've been conditioned and taught to discern, decipher, and to judge according to what you see. Discern, decipher, and judge according to what you see. That's what the Bible says. Don't judge unrighteous judgment, judge righteous judgment. Discern, decipher, and judge what you see. So now you look at a woman, and because she's pretty, you want to be pretty. Not a problem, be pretty. Because you look at a woman and she wears beautiful colors, and you're not discerning and deciphering in the spirit. You're looking and comparing yourself to it. That's why you got these brothers walking around all shiny, walking around trying to dress and walk like women. What does walking like a woman do? What does that do? Why? Because the definition of how a woman walks was never defined by a woman. It was defined by commercialized people telling you a model walks like this. Says who? What spiritual principle says a model walks like this? Well, a man is like this. The definition of a man is not the definition of a spiritual man. It's a definition you've been given by commercialism. And so what happens is every fear you have is what you see. Everything you have. But everybody wants to be spiritual. Is God hearing me? Is God listening to me? I want to be spiritual. You're not listening to God. Why would you think that God is listening to you? But he does. He listens to you. The reason God listens to you, number one, is because he loves you. And he put together the framework so he could listen to you. Now, a lot of people from the LBQT community will probably get upset with this. It's okay. Because I'm not here to try to befriend anybody. I'm trying to give you truth. And the more you have truth, you then deal with your life according to truth. Most of you have dealt with your life according to a lie. And now you're living a lie. Because you've made this lifestyle, whatever it is, single lifestyle, married lifestyle, homosexual lifestyle, you made these lifestyles to either be romanticized, or you've made these lifestyles to be something that you think you know about, but you don't know it. You don't know what it's like to be me. I don't know what it's like to be you, sister. When I live my life by the standards of the Spirit. I don't live my life by comparison to you. Or you look at women, and that's called lust, honey. I'm sorry. That's what it's called. When I look at a woman and I want a woman in bed, that's called lust. That's why it's called homosexuality. That's why they took it away from that, because that's the only thing that changes you from who I am to who you are. You follow me? Well, there are women right now that have never been with a man. There are men right now that have never been with a woman. That's okay. That's fine. But your battle should not be in comparison to somebody else or what somebody else says. Road just changed, and I'm coming off that road. All right, I'm backing up. So let's go on a little deeper. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God through the pulling down of strongholds. So let me give you guys this. So the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through the pulling down of strongholds. Okay. Now, you say you want to be married. You say you want to be single. You say all these things. So what is your weapon? The weapons are your warfare. The weapons of your warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God through the pulling down of strongholds. Now I need you to see how this is working. So if you want, let's use wealth. You want to be wealthy. You want a business. You want to start something well. He said through the pulling down of strongholds. In order to move forward, you have to know the things that are stopping you from moving forward. In order to move forward, you have to know your enemy. Let's do it that way. You have to know your adversary. So you want to move forward. What's your first adversary? You're afraid to trust. You don't trust anybody. That's an adversary. So you first have to find somebody to trust. You don't understand anything about money, so you have to understand. You have to take those adversaries and bring those adversaries into the point of the Spirit. Stop having allegiance to people that don't understand what you're doing. What do I mean by that? Right now, Britney Spears is going through a battle with her family because her family is controlling her money. Her family never understood money, so the moment they got a lot of money, they in turn tried to control the money, and Britney wants her money back. How many of you have been dealing with people that don't understand your life? They don't understand what it's like to be you. They don't understand what it looks like to be you. All they understand is how they feel about you. Stop dealing with people that have compassion for you. Oh my God, I feel so bad for you. Don't feel bad for me. Show me how to get to where I need to get to. Show me what I need to do to get to where I need to get to. Ladies, stop accepting boys when you're looking for a man. Stop accepting somebody that you have to pay into. I saw this thing the other day. Oh my God, how come a woman don't take me to dinner? You haven't earned dinner yet, bro. You haven't earned dinner yet. Because what you're going to do if you take her to dinner at a certain level, she's got to earn her dinner. But you haven't earned dinner yet. Why? You are structured differently than women. Oh my God. Why am I have to say that? You're not structured like women. Women don't have to do anything. They were never designed to labor. Now I'm going to get in trouble. It's okay. Women are never designed to labor. So if you are a woman and you are laboring, you are out of your design. Women are designed to be served. Shall I make sense of that? And shall I tell you the truth? And shall I show you how it's done? Let's do this. Now, those of you that are not on my YouTube channel, you probably won't know where I'm talking about, but I'm going to take these people that are on my YouTube channel. I'm going to take you right to it. Okay. So let's go to this passage in Genesis. All right. It's a very simple passage. Ladies, you were not designed to labor. That was not your design. You were not designed to labor. So let's look at this. Let me get this over here. I'm going to find this. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's see if we can go through this whole thing. I'm going to tell you it. I'm not going to read it because it'll take too much time. So women are not designed to labor. So God calls Adam. He creates Adam. First, he plants a garden. Before he plants a garden, not the garden. He plants a garden. And in the garden, he puts the man in the garden. When he puts the man in the garden, he says to the man, now this is what he says to the man. I'm placing you in the garden to dress and keep the garden. So let's do this in 2021. He takes a man and puts him over his business. You have a multi-million-dollar business. He says, here, over my multi-million-dollar business, I want you to take care of everything. He goes into business. He changes the marketing to business, changes everything about the business. Now the business is running like a top. Once he finishes the business, he says, now I want to introduce you to my daughter. So what he does is go home, go to sleep. When you get up, meet me here. He goes home, he goes to sleep. When he wakes up, the daughter is there. She is beautiful. When the daughter is there, that meant everything that the boy did prepared himself for the daughter. So that meant the daughter never named animals. She never did paperwork. She never did anything. Everything Adam did prepared him for Eve. So then when Eve came in, he did a verbal marriage or a spiritual marriage. Now you are bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, and bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. Look in Genesis, the 2nd chapter. All of them, what I'm telling you is there. Bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. This is why I'm saying what I'm saying. The feeling of a man doesn't make you a man. The structure of a man is he is labor intensive. He is task oriented. So a man should create a task that invites a woman. Ladies, you keep getting these no account, no. Well, ain't no more men. There are men all over the world. So you want to know what your battle is? Let's get back to Corinthians. You want to know what your battle is? Your battle is get out of your own way and go to where you want to be. So ladies were not designed to labor, but you took on labor because women's lib and being an independent woman. And now, this is not my problem. My problem is not being an independent woman. All these things, these external things, you made those your foundation. And because you made them your foundation, what happened to you is you put yourself in a position where they will go grab a different woman because Shay Shay, who's in the hood, Shay Shay makes him feel like a man, not because she's better than you, but because she's in a structural position that ignites his spiritual manhood. She's in a structural position that ignites his spiritual manhood. But now the girls in the hood are getting hip. So she's with you, you're making all this money, but now his money means nothing to you because you have never allowed his structure, you've never allowed his task-orientedness or his structure to be a basis of reward for your life. But he goes to Tamika, who don't have no house and lives in an apartment, and he can go to Tamika, and Tamika thinks he's a hero because he buys her a pair of shoes. This has happened to me before. And so what happens is the structure that you have basically overlooked, you now are shifting. You don't take a man to dinner. I don't care what you say. Now you want to do that because that's the way you do it, fine. But don't expect the kind of man that's going to take you back to dinner if you take a man to dinner. Don't expect that. Why? Because the key to this whole situation is this. You have to make a man operate spiritually because that's the highest level of manhood that you can deal with. Men, I'm going to talk to you. Stop being that guy. Stop being that guy. Listen, when you're young, be any guy you want to be. Don't commit to nothing. Don't tell nobody you committed to nothing. Don't promise nothing. Be the guy that you're going to be. But when you're ready to get into a relationship, be the guy that is structured the way God structured you. Be a spiritual man. Don't just be a mental man and a physical man. Be a spiritual man. Set the path. Create an environment that you can invite her into. Don't create an environment that's not without. Create an environment where she's into. And ladies, okay, you have a business. You have your own car. You have your own house. So who are you looking for? Ladies, you get hooked up with these boys, and these boys will... They all disagree. You get hooked up with these boys, and these boys will do what they want to do to you and then leave you and go, why do I have 2 kids? Because you never connected to the foundation of who he was. You connected to who he was physically and who he was mentally. You connected to who he was physically and who he was mentally. Now, let me say this because I saw something on TikTok as my eyes went over. Let me say this. For every rule of law, there's an exception to the rule. Just the way it is. Me and my wife and I got married. We are love at first sight. We never dated. We date now that we're married, but we never dated. So all these things don't apply to me. Because I didn't date her. So she didn't pay for mine, I didn't pay for hers. So that doesn't apply. My spiritual structure was the fact that I was a part of church. I had to change my spiritual structure when I got married because the marriage structure and the single structure are two totally different structures. So if this applies, do it and fix it. Stop being sensitive. Just fix it. Who cares if I'm right to you or wrong to you? Fix it if it's you. If it's not you, use it like a water off a duck's back. Just keep it moving. But if you are doing this, fix it. Fix it. Until you get to the highest level of who you are, you can be a part of the Nation of Islam, you can be a part of Christianity, you can be a Buddhist, a Hindu, you can be whoever you are. But once you get away from the title of religion and get into the identity of the spirit, you are not the man that you could be. You are not the man that you could be. You're the man that you are and the man that's available, but you're not the man that you could be. Same situation with women. You're not the woman that you could be. Anybody that has anything to say to me, they're going to say it because of how they feel and their experience. I'm giving you principles. Principles cannot be questioned by experience. Principles can only be true or not true, but they can't be questioned by experience. Your experiences do not decide whether the principle is right or wrong. What it decides is how it applies to your life. I'm giving you principles. If every woman you knew was a woman that was spiritually guided, every man you knew was spiritually guided, the environment that we know would change. It would change. And the reason that it would change because what would happen is the level of respect for the positions would produce the growth that's necessary for the relationship. Now, what do I mean by that? If every man, instead of looking for a woman that could support him, created an opportunity to support himself, then invited the woman into a place where her support enhanced his support. So now we got two people creating one environment. All of a sudden the relationship will work well. Why? Because she doesn't apply to the man. She doesn't attach to the man. She attached to purpose. Perfect example. I came in, I preached for 30 years. When I preached for 30 years, I explained to my wife, this is what I do. I travel around the world and I preach. When I preach, she could either agree with that and say, I'm not going to be a part of your life, I don't care how much I love you, or disagree with that and say, I'm going to be a part of your life and I'm going to pour into you. So the first year, all my wife would do, all she had to do was pray for doors to be open for me. Every day, she would pray. Every month, 3 doors, what she said, I need 3 doors to be open for you. And every month, 3 doors were open. So now we got 2 spiritually based people that are now laboring. Before I got to my wife, she's working 3 and 4 jobs to make ends meet. When I got with my wife, all she had to do was pray for doors to be open. Why? Because spiritually, she's not called to labor. So from that point on, we begin to grow. Why? Because she was attached to my purpose, not attached to me. The more she prayed about my purpose, the greater we got, the closer we got. Why? Because when I was done, she understood that on those days when I had to go and do 3 or 4 sermons or 3 or 4 teachings, that she would say, okay, I'm going to cook. You don't have to worry about anything. On those days, because I did most of the cooking. When those days when I wasn't, I would cook. The system came together because we were connected at spiritual level and not at physical level. And physical level and mental level were a whole lot better. Why? Remember now, we didn't date, so I don't know her. So those levels became greater. Why? Because we came from spirit down instead of coming from flesh up. Spirit down, we were connected spiritually. We prayed together. We meditated together. We did yoga together. All those things. Why? Because we were spiritually connected. So when we got spiritually connected, baby, the mental connection was amazing. I told you, my wife could be in the other room and she could whisper my name and my spirit would hear her. And I would be able to say, what are you doing? She said, nothing. I said, you just called my name? She said, well, I just thought about you. I came in there. Our mental, we would talk about everything. Why? Because our foundation for our relationship was not based on what I liked and what she liked. It wasn't based on her opinion of my life, my opinion of her life. It was based on us building a spiritual connection, and that purpose keep going. So we would sit down and talk about purpose for hours. Okay, what we're going to do is we'll put the book together. And baby, you need a CRM. And now, why? Because we had purpose. See, it wasn't that we hung out in the club and I drank that. We had purpose together. And so when we had purpose together, all of a sudden, see, when you connect to a spiritual thing, you connect to something that is universal. You don't connect to something that's one direction. Connect to physical, it gets fat, it gets old, it goes away. You connect to something mental that changes, its opinion, it's happy, it's sad, it goes away. But you connect to something spiritual, it grows and enhances everything else. Any questions? See, you have to realize something. You have power. You're one of the most powerful beings on this planet. How is your power illustrated? It's not illustrated by your ability to make money, because there are people that control how you make money. It's not done by your mentality or your education, because there are people that are smarter than you. It's not controlled by any of those things. What it's controlled by is your ability to be spiritual. Why? Because spiritually, you have universal information. So that means you know everything that has access to you. So when they say we're about to do this, you already know about it and you'll know how to handle it, because you're in the spiritual place. The weapons of your warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God, through the pulling down of strongholds. Your emotions are your stronghold. There's only one battle in this world, people: flesh and spirit. When I talk to people, that's why I stopped debating with people. I used to debate. No. I don't debate with you unless you understand how spiritual. Unless you can talk on the spiritual level, there's nothing to debate about. Let me see if I can explain this like this. Let me explain it like this. Right now, every person that is watching me on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, every person that's watching me lives a life of maybe 5 to 10% of the spirit, whether they want to or not. Some of you are more, very few of you are less. Some of you are more because you've studied it. But here's what it is. You go into a situation. Let's do a man. Man goes into a club. And let's say he doesn't go in the club looking for a woman. He just goes into a club to enjoy the club. He goes into the club and enjoys the club. His eyes begin to identify different colors and things that stimulate his mind. So he goes there. We sees a cute little butt over there. He sees breasts over there. He sees hair over there. Whatever his thing is, he sees that thing. So when he does that, his first step is his physical. He's a hunter. So he identifies with a lot of things. And because he's a hunter, he can't look at things instantaneously. He has to study it. Ladies, that's why when a man looks at a man looks at a woman, he has to look at it more than 5 or 10 seconds, because he has to intake that thing and he has to attach to it, because his emotions are attached to it, just his physical. So he looks at it and he goes from his mind, from his physical sight, to his mental side. Now he begins to think about, because he's a hunter, he begins to think about, how do I get to whatever those people that he's identified with. So he goes from physical to mental. And then from mental, he goes to spiritual. Why? Because the spirit is still there. It's still there. The difference is, a woman will go in, she goes in at the mental place. So she feels like doing it, not feeling. So she's at a mental place. Then she goes to a physical place, but they both their destination both is spiritual. So when you go into that, you are spiritually operating anyway. The only difference is you're not operating at the height of the spirituality. You're operating at a casual spirituality, which means it kind of happens, it kind of doesn't happen. If you're a church-going person, you want to do everything you mentally want to do and everything physical, then you want to go to church and then say, okay, that's the spiritual. So here's the key. So if that spiritual part of you was in the initial state and kicked in, you would walk into that same club, spiritually now, that same club, and you now have control of what's going on in the club. Because you're in control of you, you're in control of your mindset, you're in control of your environment, and nothing can come towards you except you are ready for it to come towards you, and you are in control of it. That's what spirituality is all about. Anybody that controls you, you're not operating in spirituality. If you walk around talking about my pastor said, you're not in control. You operate in the spirit anyway. Because check this out. Let's go back to the club. So he's in the club, and all of a sudden he just feels like, man, I shouldn't be here. Something just ain't right. You're spiritual now. All of a sudden your spiritual is kicked in because your spiritual has said there's danger there. But because you've not practiced in spirit, you don't know that it's spiritual. You just know that something's not right. So you just leave. I just don't feel right. I'm leaving. That's your spirit kicking in. It's not your mind. It's your spirit. Especially when it doesn't make sense why you did it. Most women that begin into a relationship and it becomes an abusive relationship, they see it before it happens. Most, not all. They see it before it happens, but they fight it because they take the mindset and start going, well, maybe if I do this, he'll do this. Ladies, you can't change a man. You can't fix a man. But you'll sit there and go, maybe if I love him, he only has 5 attributes. I need 2. He only has 3. I need 2. Maybe if I love him, he'll get those 2. It doesn't work. That's your spirit kicking in when it says, hey, get out of here. Warning, Will Robinson, get out. You operate in the spirit. My only thought is to tell you is operate at a higher level in the spirit. How do you do that? You do it through meditation. You do it through prayer. You do it through journaling or writing. Why? You begin to identify your strengths in the spirit and you push away your weaknesses in the spirit. Your strengths in the spirit. You identify what you're good at in the spirit. You identify how you operate in the spirit. And when you identify that, you will see your life change. I can only tell you, I can't show you your life changing, but your life will change. My life changed. It's not because I go to church. My life changed because I understood spiritual principles that applied to my life. I cannot let something stop me because it is an intangible fear. Meaning you've never dealt with it. You've never touched it. My wife and I went scuba diving and we went down to 100 feet. My heart was beating so fast when I went down to 100 feet. I was so afraid because I don't know what 100 feet is like. The moment my face hits the water, now hear me now, the moment my face hit the water is the moment I realized my training because I knew the principles, so I wasn't afraid when I hit the water because I knew how to escape with the principles. When you understand spirituality, when you understand spiritual principles, you will not enter a situation that you can't get out of. You will not enter into relationships that are detrimental. You will not enter into businesses that are detrimental. Yes, you're going to endure and they're not going to be perfect. But what you realize is when you get to it, you know the principles. You know how to deal with it. And I'm going to leave that right there. See, we have to realize that the fear that we have is not really fear. It's a comparison. Somebody else said it was scary, so we believe that it was scary. My sister used to watch scary movies and sit and laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh. But when I watch scary movies, it made me afraid. See, you have to realize that what you are dealing with right now is comparative. Scary movies don't bother me because I watch my sister laugh at them. And if it's not tangible, it's not able to touch me. That's what this society is trying to teach you, how to be afraid. I've never had a relationship where somebody did something bad to me. Never. I've never had that relationship. I've had people get mad at me. There's not a person that I've ever dated, ever been around that I can't call right now and say, see how you doing. Because I treat women spiritually. Not one person. And I'm talking about over 50 years. Not one person that I can't call back and say, hey, what's going on? And go and sit and talk with them and hang out with them. And they're not thinking to themselves, man, I ought to kill him. Not one person on this planet. You know why? Because I understood spiritual principles from 19. You keep a woman in the position of the spirit. You don't put her in the position that man says or kitchens and pregnant. That's not God's positioning. That's not God's positioning. That is man's position. So I never put women in men's position. I had 6 sisters. And why I didn't do that? Because I understood one thing. I understood that the most powerful form of my life is being spiritual. I can tell you guys miracle after miracle that has happened to my life. Amazing thing after amazing thing that's happened to my life. Over and over and over and over and over again. Why? Because I stay in a spiritual mindset. You ever heard the spirit of your mind? I stay in the spiritual mindset. I don't get into people's business. I tell you the truth and I keep it going. When he says leave, I leave. I was on one of these software packages and I'm on software programs, and he said, get off there, don't get on there. When I got on there, off there, all of a sudden everybody started going, this is happening, that is happening, this is happening. I don't get into those things. Why? Because I'm not spiritually or emotionally, I'm not emotionally attached to anything. Only thing I'm emotionally attached to, and I'm not emotionally attached to my wife. My wife and I are one. That's like me being emotionally attached to my arm. I don't care. I'm not emotionally attached to my arm, it's my arm. I'm not emotionally attached to my wife, it's my wife. The liberties that come with being a wife, well, that's my wife. So if you want to do those, the two passages we did were 2 Corinthians 5 and 17. 2 Corinthians 5 and 17, and 2 Corinthians 10 and 15. No, 2 Corinthians 10, 4 through 5. Those are two passages. If you go back over the YouTube, you'll see both of those passages. So that's it. I'm Uncle Dallas. That was it for today, guys. If you're on TikTok, if you're on Instagram, we're going to talk for a little bit later, talk a little bit more so we can answer some of the questions that you have. I appreciate you. I'm Uncle Dallas. This is Truth or Perspective. I hope it was something that will bless you. I hope it was something that changed your life. If you want to watch it over, make sure you follow, share, subscribe, put the bell on so you know that I'm on. And whenever I put up a new video, because all of them aren't public like this, sometimes I just put stuff up like I did this morning. And you'll be able to hear it. These videos are placed to help you become stronger in the spirit, not to help you become a church person, or not a church person or minister. They help you to become stronger in the spirit, and that's my desire for your life. All right? All right. I love you guys. I'll see you a little bit later on YouTube. Okay? Peace.